I'd like to reconvene the public meeting, close the executive session. I guess I better put my glasses on so I can read, huh? We'll do roll call. Commissioner Shepard?
Here.
Commissioner Bell?
Present.
Commissioner Briscoe is present. We'll go to public comment. Do we have anybody?
Jim Kyle, Chairman, President of the Working Waterfront Coalition. I first wanted to thank you, Commissioners, for delaying the vote on Resolution 1403, the mortgage model proposal, which I have a few things to say about. That delay allowed us to meet as a board, have a good discussion about the proposal. We agreed in principle that the objectives are good, that we want to maintain good facilities in Port of Bellingham, and we agree that they should be high quality. We agree that they should remain competitive with other Puget Sound rates, so there's no disagreement with the basic principles there. That a good discussion led to a vote to ask you to approve Resolution 1403. And in fact, the vote was unanimous, but it was not easy. I want to give you a couple of examples of why not. Our charter representative explained how seriously their business model would be affected by these rate increases. His conclusion was that in spite of the pain for them, this step needs to be taken and they would have some major adjustments to make, but their vote was in favor. Recreational boaters are not formally represented on our board, but the bottom lines of most of our members depend on having harbors full of boats. We know that the demand for recreational moorage is more elastic than it is for, say, meat and potatoes. How much more, we don't know, but there are a couple of pretty good indicators in the moorage wait lists and vacancy rates. One downside of this model is that it concentrates the pain during the years that construction takes place, and that makes us wonder if a bonding element should be considered during the review process. But to sum up with the proviso that we expect a timely and thorough review on schedule in 4 years, the Working Waterfront Coalition supports the passage of Resolution 1403, the mortgage rate model revision. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Questions? Anyone? Him? That guy?
Hi. Good afternoon. Don Goldberg, Director of Economic Development. I'm here to introduce guests that we have. Sven Odegaard and Nina Nancaro, who are with Corvus Energy. You'll be voting on their lease, and they had a couple of things to say and introduce themselves.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the opportunity to meet you all. My name is Sven Odegaard. Mentioned I'm a Senior VP of Sales for Corvus Energy, and I'm also President of Corvus Energy USA, which is a smaller entity per today. We have decided we also need to kind of start production of our product here in the United States. And we had done a search around there, and we kind of considered Washington State as a primary goal. We considered other states. We went out, and we were lucky enough. We met the team here at Port of Bellingham. They made it clear that they very much want us to be here. I kind of gave the information what we need, what kind of size building, etc. And the team had come up a building. We've been here, we looked through it, we validated everything, and we are now actually proceeding with the goal of making zero-emission products for the maritime industry here in Bellingham. And this factory will then serve the US market, and will also in the future maybe potentially do export as well to other countries here in Americas. So if any question about the company, history, background, I can be here, I can always answer questions. So we very much look forward to continue this process and be here in Bellingham and make that kind of products.
I don't have any questions, just a general thank you for coming. This is exactly why we're here.
Excellent.
As a port.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Shepard?
No, I think it's a good fit. You know, we've already got a cluster of businesses that are working in the energy sphere like this, and I think you guys are going to be a good fit here. We have a real active marine maritime business here, and this port and this Port Commission have really worked hard to make sure that's front and center towards our mission. So I think we look forward to a really productive partnership, and I just think that we're putting that building to the right use with manufacturing. It was designed to do this type of work. So I'm glad to see this building is being used for what it was intended for.
Thank you, and it's absolutely likewise. We think the Bellingham is a good fit for us too. What we're seeing is that we're going to have a blend of workers here. There are going to be some production assembly lines, but they're also going to follow with the managers, project managers, there will be technical positions, and as this kind of industry is growing, we do absolutely predict growth in the United States, and we really hope to have as much as we can here at Bellingham. Of course, we also need to some few other people in service, etc., in other states, but this will be the center for the U.S. activities.
Thank you for choosing Bellingham. We greatly appreciate it, and I echo both my commissioners' statements. And if there's anything we can do for your company to help, you make sure you let us know.
Yeah,
noticed
thank you.
that-
I will take on that.
I noticed you had some extensions on your lease. We intend to have you execute those.
Fully understood.
We hope you're here long enough to be able to execute the extensions on your lease.
Yeah, that sounds good. That's
Thank
the
you.
plan. That's ambitions.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Carrie, anyone else? Okay,
I
so,
would ask if there's anybody on Zoom.
oh, is there anybody on Zoom?
Are you not the chairman?
What do I have to?
Yeah, all I have to do is talk into the mic and ask.
Is anyone on Zoom?
That wants to ask a question or make a comment? If so, just raise your hand. Make yourself known
Thought that was him.
or speak.
Looks like we have a couple members of the public on there, so if you'd like to make public testimony, please unmute yourself. Doesn't look like anyone is.
Okay.
We're looking for a performance review on the chairman.
Okay. You're digging that hole pretty deep over there in that chair. I'll go to our advisory committee meeting schedules. The Marina Advisory Committee, the MAC, will meet May 10th at 6 p.m. Harbor Center Building Conference Room, which is here, in person only. There will be no Zoom at this meeting. It will be in person only, no Zoom. The Bellingham International Airport Advisory Committee, the BIAC, will meet July 14th at 4 p.m., and that is Zoom only, no in person. That meeting at the BIAC is Zoom only. Carrie, if you please.
Motion to approve consent agenda items A through J.
Commissioner Bell, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Shepherd, questions?
I just had a question on J. I wanted to see if Gina Stark was available to give us a quick update on where we are with broadband work. I don't know if she's on.
She's on Zoom.
Would that be all right if we got a quick update as it pertains to that?
Gina, are you on yet?
If she's on there, sure.
Yes, Commissioner, I am on. Good evening. For the record, Gina Stark, Economic Development Project Manager and Broadband Manager. So I apologize for not being able to be with you in person, but I have a Broadband Advisory Committee meeting on Zoom, so following after this. So yeah, happy to give a very quick update. I know you have a full agenda. So as you know, we have the East Nooksack, that's just east of the Nooksack Elementary School project, which is underway, was funded by CURB. That project is going very well. We are in the permitting phase and the design phase of that, and we'll very soon be moving into the construction phase. That should be by next month, if not sooner. So that one we're very excited about. As you will recall, we also received funding from CURB, that's the Community Economic Revitalization Board, and the Washington State Broadband Office earlier this year for two other projects. One is in North Linden. The other one is what we're calling the North Ferndale project. Both of those are in what we're calling the pre-contract phase. So there's just some kind of pre-permitting, some just pre-paperwork that we need to do to submit to those two agencies in order to get our funding flowing. And those are also right on target. So before the end of the year, we will be able to go into our kind of pre-permitting stage. So those are also right on track as well. So we're really excited that we are on target for all three of those projects. And then I'm also happy to say that, I've said to many of our community members who call and email us, and also our PUD, who is a great partner with us, that our work is not done. And so you will be seeing some announcements very soon that we'll be doing some community outreach to continue to listen to our communities about, what are they hearing about being unserved, underserved? Where are those gaps that still exist? Because we know they do still exist in our community. So we will be doing some community outreach. We will be doing some surveys. So stay tuned for that. And so that's just a really quick update on where we are on those projects. And commissioners, I welcome any questions if you have any.
Gina, what about the upcoming funding cycles that we're going after?
So excellent question. As of right now, we are really waiting to hear, because that funding does come from the federal sources. Some of them are in the rulemaking. Currently, what I'm hearing, one of our main funders, which is CURB, they anticipate that they might open a funding cycle in July. So I'm anticipating maybe July or fall, we'll start hearing when those funding cycles open. And then the state broadband office is going to need to apply to some of that federal funding. So when you're dealing with the feds, nothing is certain, but that's what we're hearing right now.
Well, we certainly have a lot on our plate with 3 active projects, and so I appreciate that you and the rest of the team are continuing to work on implementation while keeping our eyes on the horizon for this upcoming funding.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina.
You bet.
Any other questions for the consent agenda? Carrie, if you please.
Motion to approve consent agenda items A through J.
Commissioner Shepherd.
Yes.
Commissioner Bell.
Yes.
Commissioner Briscoe's a yes. Carries 3-0. So now we have a presentation.
Yeah, Tiffany DeSimone is going to give a presentation on the mortgage model update.
Good evening, commissioners. Thought that I had this down, but is Gina, one participant can share at a time. Oh. You have to stop sharing. I did.
Whatever you do, don't
Yeah.
follow the arrow. It'll get to you.
Start feeling seasick.
One participant.
They're going there.
I thought I had it this
Let me
time.
try for a second.
Yeah. Gosh, I think Carrie showed me 3 times too, sorry. Okay. Good evening, commissioners. Tiffany DeSimone, Director of Marinas. Could I just do one shameless plug for some events that are happening at the marina before I start this weekend? So it's opening weekend, Blessing of the Fleet, and the Fisherman's Memorial at Squalicum. I just have a list of times. So Blessing of the Fleet is at 11 a.m., and that's at the memorial statue down by Zwanich. And then the reception will be in the Fisherman's Pavilion. Also, there's an opening day swap meet from 7 to 11 by the Yacht Club. And then Dockside Market, that's a plug for Dockside Market, 10 to 2 as well. So lots going on down in the harbor this weekend.
Are trailer loads allowed at the swap meet? Because I got a trailer load.
You might want to check with the Yacht Club on that. Okay. So let me, I have the mortgage model presentation for you again tonight, as I did at the last commission meeting. We're not requesting any commission action. This is a presentation tonight. We'll come forward at another meeting or action. As we begin, I would like to again thank the Marina Advisory Subcommittee that was formed to discuss this topic. They began discussing it in 2020, a challenging year to discuss anything, and wrapped up in early 2021, I believe. The members of that committee were Paul Burrell, Jim Kyle, Linda Thompson, Julie Winkler, Lauren Kapp, Ross Tennant, Robert Brooks. And in my opinion, that's a good distribution of stakeholders. Okay, so this next slide compares what the MAC recommended to what we are proposing in the model. So I'll just go by topic. As far as mortgage rates, the MAC recommended a 20% differential rate between Blaine Harbor until our occupancy increased. Recall this was in 2020 they were discussing. My slide actually says 98% occupancy, but we are at 100% as of last week at both harbors. So we're running wait lists on all slip sizes currently. ACF is the next topic. ACF is active commercial fishermen. The MAC recommended an increase in the rate, but to continue to remain at the bottom of the market. They also recommended one ACF rate. We currently have two, one rate for under 80 feet and one rate for over 80 feet. The MAC recommended, it's telling that ringtone. The MAC recommended that we
Where is it? I'll get it.
that we link that rate to our 26-foot the user rate to the 26-foot recreational rate, and that still be funded by that economic development support. And let me explain that one a little bit just for clarity. So that rate for the ACF, as the 26-foot recreational user rate increases, the overall ACF rate increases, but not to the user. The difference is made up with that economic development support fund in order to keep our mortgage model whole. I think that explains it.
So that's essentially property tax, and we set it up that way from the beginning just to make sure that the recreational boater wasn't subsidizing the commercial fishermen. It was instead the countywide.
Yep. Thanks, Rob. And so our recommendation in the model is we are not recommending an increase at this time to the user rate. We're recommending to continue with the two rates, the under 80 foot and the over 80 foot. We agreed that we should link the rates to the Squalicum recreational rate. And then we also agree with the economic development support funds, in which we'll have to request an increase there to make up the difference. For the Blaine boathouses, I know there were some questions about this at the last commission meeting. The Marine Advisory Committee recommended that we reduce the premium to 10% until demand increase there. We are recommending no change to our current 30%, and we're in discussion with legal about what our next steps are for the Blaine boathouses. And then the last one, how do I minimize this? Yeah, got it. Okay, the MAC recommended to push out the large capital projects, which when I say large, I'm speaking about the inner harbor replacement and renovations. They recommend pushing out the projects by 4 years and using a replacement cycle of 40 to 45 years, and recommended 20-year bond financing. We make the recommendations in the proposal with actually an earlier start date and a multi-year phasing. So we're going to phase that over 3 years, which we talked about also at the last presentation. And in a future slide in this presentation, I'm going to show you that phasing. And then we recommend no future bond financing. Questions yet?
What's the 30% boathouse? That's a 30% markup currently?
That's a different in the boathouse rate.
Okay, so they're currently at 30% over rate.
Yes.
And the MAC was recommending make that 10%
10%.
until they were full. And those remain still not fully utilized
In Blaine.
in Blaine, yeah.
Okay, and I showed this again because again, am a visual learner, and I think it's helpful for people who don't spend every day in the harbor. The inner harbor are those gates 6 through 9. And then the outer harbor's labeled, and that outer harbor comprises gate 3, which is where the yacht club is located at the top of the gate, and then our commercial fleet at gate 5.
She really did this for me because I've been here my whole life and still don't know which.
Nobody
gate's what,
knows.
except-
Nobody
except-
knows the
Except for
gates.
the one I've gone down, which is gate 5.
That makes me feel better.
Nobody knows the gates. Well, we do, but.
I've only been going to the wrong gate for 14 months.
Okay, let me just preface these next slides with a little explanation. Each slip size has 2 slides. And I'll go through the first 2 slip sizes fairly slowly and explain them, and then I'll click through the other ones, but just stop me if you have questions. Just interrupt me at any point in time. So here's the 26-foot slips. You can see 26 on the top. The bottom are the other regional marinas. The side is the moored rate. The solid orange and blue is where we currently are for this slip size. The patterned orange and blue is where we would be with approval of the model.
Commissioners, the only thing I would point out here is that it doesn't necessarily, because if Squalicum goes up 3%, it doesn't necessarily mean we leapfrog Port Angeles, John Wayne, because they could do 3% increase as well. And the likelihood of them staying flat is really unlikely, so they will do something. So by doing the 3% increase, you probably hold your position there. You don't jump over a port.
And let's recall, we didn't do an increase last year, and we do see the other marinas increase annually. Okay, second slide in the 26-foot slip, just a different way to see. And you'll see we're trying to sort of stay in that middle third, which we talked about at the last commission meeting. So this is the percent change over the last 5 years, so from 2017 to 2022. Our marinas are in the white. So that shows you the difference. So there are 2 of those per slip size. Here's the 30-foot slip and where we are and where we propose to be. And you'll recall from the last presentation that we run a wait list for most of the year in 30 and above. Here's 36-foot slips. And I would say, Pam could correct me, but I would say 36, 45, and 54, whatever it is, are our most in-demand slips. Okay, here's where 36-foot is, percent change over the last 5 years for us and for other marinas. Okay for me to keep moving through these ones. There's 45. $56. You'll see it's fairly consistent, 60-foot. And then our last size, 70. Okay. Why increase moorage rates? Current moorage rates won't be enough to pay for the renovation and replacement of the inner harbor floats. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, here's the model assumptions again that went into the proposed model. We're currently recommending that 4% differential, leaving it at 4% between the 2 harbors. Boathouse premium at 30%, no user ACF rate increase, leaving the 2 rates, linking them, and then making up the difference with the economic development support. Here's some of the things when we were looking and trying to dial in the model more, here are some of the cost reducing efforts we took into consideration. We had our engineers refined and updated our ROMs with new unit costs. We refined our dredging based on newer bathymetry readings for inner and outer harbors. Again, we phased the projects, and I'm going to show you those in a couple slides. Life extension work is going to continue up through those larger projects, meaning we're going to add that life extension work into our capital budgets annually, which we currently do. And then port staff is investigating having a lot of the work or some of the work or some percentage of the work done by our in-house maintenance crew by staffing appropriately there. Again, the visual, because now we're going to go into the phased project. I want you to see which gates are happening first.
How come there's not a "We Are Here" thing over in the roof?
I know, right? I should do that. Oh, good, I can do it again.
You are.
Okay, here is that phased project for the Inner Harbor replacement and renovation. So you'll see in 2025, we start with the dredging. And those dredging costs can vary so drastically depending on where we dispose and how we dispose. And then you'll see the phased project. So it's 3-year phases for each of the gates, starting with gates 9 and 8, which are the most in need currently. Next, everybody ready for me to move next, or you want more time on that one?
No, I've looked at that big number long enough.
I know, seen it enough times. Okay, and then here are some of the harbor service improvements that you will see more immediately than 2025. These are some more visible than others. Attention and correction to deferred dock facility maintenance, and that is those life extension projects that we will budget for annually. Those have to do with safety for our customers and additionally just some curbside appeal. Increased security presence, we talked about that at the last meeting. Increased port staff presence on docks and boat launches during our high impact season, trying to avoid those angry phone calls both to me and to the commissioners. Extended office hours, that's gonna start in the next couple of weeks. Our marinas will be open until 7 p.m. seasonally in Squalicum and 6 p.m. in Blaine. Upgrades to our restrooms and shower facilities have already started, and some of that was done by our maintenance staff. We have a lot of restrooms and showers to fix up, so. Focus and inventory on the seaworthiness of our vessels. We heard that feedback from both the MAC, I believe the Working Waterfront Coalition. I'm not sure which voice Jim was speaking under when he recommended that, but also from the commissioner, so we're gonna put some attention there. And then increased focus on customer outreach and service to all our stakeholders. Okay, here's the proposed model. This is not new. You saw this also at the last commission meeting, same thing. The proposed increases, depending on how the vote goes, would start July 1st. The next model review would be in 2026. And that, we think, gives us some time to talk and discuss and noodle around a CPI model. That's it. Questions?
Mr. Shepherd.
Yeah, I keep looking at that 4% differential in Blaine and wondering how long we should keep that. Has it served its purpose of filling up the harbor like we intended? And are we ready to sunset that in a relevant time frame? Because we put it in at a time when the harbor was not full. There were maybe other factors. We're at a time when there's high demand all over the place, and that may have achieved its goals.
Thank you for that question. I agree. I think it did serve its purpose. We decided to leave it in given the weirdness of the last 2 years, and this is really the first time that I know of that we've been full in Blaine, and so to stand a little bit on that and see what happens in the market, especially with the gas prices. So it was just a little bit of security in that we can keep that harbor full.
Okay. And it's hard to plan, it's hard
Yeah.
it's hard to find what a normal year looks like anymore, and to predict if we're in one or not, to make these determinations for the future. But I don't think I ever intended for that to be a permanent. And so I do recognize that it's achieved some good goals that I had for it. And I would certainly want us to consider at our next review, if that's the staff recommendation, to determine if that's still needed.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bell?
If you'd have gone to me first, that would have been my idea. I just,
Okay, done then.
I want
Next.
to go on, I want to go on the record. No, I agree wholeheartedly that if you want to put a sunset clause on that Blaine Marina, as soon as you're comfortable lifting that, I would like to entertain that, because I do think it's achieved its goal. And the purpose was to fill it, and we filled it. So, and we can always go back. So, quite frankly, I don't see the need for it. And I know that Commissioner Briscoe may have a different opinion on that, but at the moment, I think we did what we wanted to do with that, and I would like to see it go away.
Do we have a wait list in Blaine?
We have a wait list as of last week for, yes, but we don't run a wait list consistently in Blaine.
Right, so sunset it maybe next year, bring that to the commission.
I'd suggest sunsetting it when you get a wait list, because lose a couple boats and we're not full anymore. I think the reason we filled is because we had the foresight to lower the rates below Squalicum and drive some business up there. So I think, maybe a couple of years from now, we should look at sunsetting it, but I think it's too early. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I would think maybe with the next review, that would be an appropriate time, because that would give us a couple years. I mean, it's going to be a couple years of not getting as much revenue as we could, but that would at least give us an accurate portrayal of what's happening and be able to keep our tabs on it. And those are always decisions that can be changed as we go. If there's 50 people on a wait list in another 2 years and we're really feeling like this is an incorrect model.
Yeah, and I can assure you that staff is keeping their eye on those occupancies regularly. And so certainly if we start to see a pattern, we can come back to commission and talk about that.
My turn now?
No.
So I would caution the commission about dangling the carrot and then taking the carrot away, and dangling the carrot and taking the carrot away, because that'll come back and bite you. There's people up there because we made a difference. Now, this difference thing has gone on almost as long as the Blaine Harbor has been up there. The port has done this in the past. I remember back in the 70s it was done, and then it was taken away, and then it was on again. There's people that went to Blaine because of the 4% difference that needed a stall here and couldn't get a stall. So I want to caution us. I'm not saying don't have a sunset at some point, but be cautious how you do it, because you don't have the amenities in Blaine as far as fixing your vessel and getting parts and so on and so forth. With the cost of gas going to be $5 a gallon, you got to drive a half hour to Bellingham to get it, half hour getting it, half hour back. I mean, there's a cost associated with having your boat in Blaine versus in Bellingham because of the business availability to fix your vessel. So that's part of the reason that there is a difference in the Blaine moorage versus the Bellingham moorage. It's not that our marina is not nice. It's a good marina. It's every bit as good as here. It's just you don't have the amenities there uptown to support the harbor, and you have to come to Bellingham to get your stuff to do work up there. And that takes the person's time. When you have an engine company come up there, it's from the time they leave Bellingham to get there. So it's going to cost you almost $100 for that guy just to get to the boat, another $100 to get home, plus whatever you have to have him do. So there's outside cost to having a boat in Blaine versus Bellingham. So I would hope we all keep that in mind when we're thinking about sunsetting and taking something away that we just put in. So it's not that maybe someday it doesn't need a sunset, but I don't think I appreciate what Director Fix said. I think that we need to give it a little bit more time than next year. I think we would end up with some egg on our face possibly, and I really don't want any of us to be seen that way up here. So that's all I have to say about that.
And I guess my last comment, and I think Commissioner Briscoe brings up some good points, is I continue to question the utility of CPI after 2026. It's not my preferred model. I'd rather see a consistent low rate that we can see as predictable, something between 1.5 and 3% that is consistent, that people understand and can predict, and helps us have a reliable stream of revenue that isn't going to fluctuate quite as much as the market, because I don't think that's what we need to do. And I've said it before, I want boating to be accessible to a wide variety of individuals in the community as possible. And if we can do that through our rate structure, I think we have. And so I want to commend the team for running a great facility that people love, that is at an affordable level comparatively. I think that's something to feel proud of that we've done for the community. And I think there is appreciation for that. I just had somebody call me just this week to just thank me for how great our facilities look. And they talked about our landscaping and the, customer service that we have at our facilities. And they were just very appreciative. They didn't have to call me. It was out of the blue, and it wasn't warranted by any phone call on my part. But people do recognize that we have good facilities here, and I want to make sure that we continue to do that and keep them affordable. And thanks, Jim, for your organization and the Working Waterfront taking a good look at this. It really helps to have you guys weigh in, and I appreciate your support on this.
You sure? Yeah. So 2 things. The 4%, I still believe we need to respond to the marketplace, and I believe the marketplace is the best indicator of what we should be doing. And again, if we weren't a government agency, if we were a private marina, the marketplace would have told us to raise our rates by now, and we would have done it last week, right? So a private marina would have increased the rates already, and then when the market dropped back, it would have responded again. But we don't seem to have that flexibility as a government, which is annoying, but it is what it is. And we do have a commitment to Blaine, and we are going to continue to make sure that we do improvements in Blaine at a very aggressive level, because I think that's the future of marinas here in the county. And I think, Bobby, to your point, we want to make Blaine everything it can be, and not to make it a second-class place to moor your boats. So at least the direction for me is to make sure that we keep that commitment going. But to another point that Commissioner Shepherd brought up, would you do me a favor? Would you go back to the
I'll try.
the dredging, the costs?
Yes.
So at the current inflation rate of 8%, a 1% or 3% increase in mortgage rates will have us going backwards aggressively on our ability to raise the capital to accomplish these. So I speak very highly in favor of making sure we at least keep up with inflation, because our labor is going to continue to keep up with inflation, our cost of materials is going to keep up with inflation, and we have got to at least use that as some measure. And to use the number of 3% or 5% or 6% is somewhat arbitrary at this point, and I'm not a fan of that. I am a fan of making sure that we can maintain our costs. I don't think it's a huge burden, because we're going to end up paying inflationary rates on everything that we do going forward, so we need to at least keep up with inflation if we're going to keep it up. These are not the numbers that these projects are going to be in 2028 and 2029. I guarantee you that they're going to advance with the price of inflation as we move forward. And CPI is a very, very easy mechanism, because that tends to be a lagging indicator of what the cost increases have been. It's not a predictor of future, but it is a lagging, so it is a true indicator of what costs have done the last 12 months, so or the last month. So I'm a big fan of taking a lot of the judgment call out of how we raise rates from an inflationary standpoint, and not just use an escalator that doesn't tie to anything. There are going to be times when the inflation rate goes to 1%. We're not going to want to be stuck in a 3%. I don't think anybody would want to see that happen either. I mean, it works both ways. And what's nice is you can point to CPI and say it is what it is. And it can be a very clear determining factor of that. So with that being said, I'm wholly on board with the CPI increase going forward, but we can hash that out when the time comes. And I guess I'm done. I don't need to make the other comment.
I don't disagree with you, Ken, but I do hope that this commission and future commissions remembers to put a little heart into their decisions and not leave it just, that's the numbers. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons we're elected, and that's why we're here, because the people put faith in us that we're gonna throw a little, maybe a heartfelt feeling in how we do business, and not just there's the numbers and we're gonna beat you over the head with them, and if you don't like it, go away. I don't wanna portray that. I don't wanna be that. And that's probably why I'm always arguing that, and we've got to, you know, we have to find other ways to get the money, and I think we're working on that. I think we're making progress with our shipping terminal, and if we can get that up and running like we'd like to see it, I mean, I think that a lot of our discussions up here will probably feather away. So I don't disagree with you. I'm hoping we can do it some other way, because I don't feel that that's it leaves people with a very warm feeling if we have to go that route. That's kind of where I'm at. I mean. Okay, any other
Thank you.
questions? Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you. I'll try.
Carrie, if you please.
Sure.
So Tiffany, is this going to come back to us at our next meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
it is for action.
It'll be an action item on the next agenda.
This is the first time we've been through this where we have not had a packed auditorium with people commenting. That is telling.
Well, we have another meeting. Thanks.
Thank you, Tiffany, for that.
Yeah, I'll just stay here.
Motion to authorize executive director to approve a policy and fee schedule to allow special non-exclusive use for commercial fishermen to access the Fisherman's Pavilion exclusively for commercial net mending October 1st through May 31st and community use June 1st through September 30th.
For the record, I figured out how to share the correct screen now. I don't actually have a presentation on this. I think we've talked about it at the last commission meeting. You have it in front of you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Mr. Shepherd.
Let me see. So the rates are a little bit different than we talked about last time.
Correct.
Walk us through that process of achieving some different rates than we have discussed.
Yes,
in the past.
last week we had $25. This is for the non-exclusive use for the commercial net mending. Now we are recommending $15 per calendar day or $75 for 1 week, which is considered 7 consecutive days.
Okay.
And then the rates for the recreation?
Rates for events? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that's okay. That is staying the same. That's $75 an hour with a 4-hour minimum with a $250 refundable damage deposit.
Okay. And have we had any additional input from any of the stakeholders on the rates?
For the commercial fishermen, I believe we have.
I had a discussion with the Commercial Fishermen's Association on Saturday at their annual meeting. I had, unfortunately, the meeting went on and I had another appointment I needed to get to, but Commissioner Briscoe finished up for me. I didn't hear any major objections when I mentioned the rates.
No, the discussion, of course, after Rob left was really heated. No, actually, everybody was fine with these rates, and they're happy to have the building and be able to work out. I would, however, say I think we need to get some patio heaters because everybody was there for that meeting was pretty cold. And but no, Rob had a meeting he had to go to, and I stepped up and fielded a couple of questions, and there was no nay to the rates at all. So it was good.
It's funny you mentioned the, oh, sorry, Rob.
I was just going to say, I'm not sure about the patio heaters in there because it's enclosed. So if you're using propane heaters, I guess we could find some electric ones maybe. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, it had a bite in the air, there's no doubt. And it wasn't that cold on Saturday.
It was warmer outside than it was inside.
Yeah, so we'll look into some electric type heaters that we can.
Radiant.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
radiant over there.
yeah.
Yeah, that might help.
Not heat the whole space, just heat the
Warms
people.
the physical bodies.
Yeah.
So that's what they've got. I was at a funeral later in the day down in Anacortes, and the Port Anacortes is one of their old pier warehouses there, and that's what they have, was big sort of
Radiant.
radiance.
It makes sense. You're not heating the whole building. You're just heating the surfaces of the people. So, yeah, we'll look into that. There's a couple things. We got some notes we're taking.
Yeah, we're working on getting that outfitted with equipment.
Anything else?
No.
Commissioner Bell?
Will $15 even cover the cost of radiant heat in that pavilion?
Hey, time out.
You're seriously asking that
No,
question?
it's a
Okay.
rhetorical question.
I can get back to you with an exact cost on radiant heat.
No,
if you need me to.
I know the answer to the question. And my opinion remains the same. I also want to make sure that you've got the staff to monitor that building, and I know during the October through May 31st timeframe, if it's used for any other purpose other than work, that'll be something we crack down on as part of the user agreement. Because if there's a party going on in there, then they revert back to the party rate, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think we're going to look for a couple things here. One, we're going to make sure it's not being used for storage. We don't want, and at that rate, it's tempting to say, okay, I'll keep my stuff in there an extra day or two. So we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. We're going to be watching for events. We have a couple security cameras in there, security cameras all around the building as well. So we'll keep our eye on that.
And can we have multiple individuals reserve the building at once?
I think we potentially could.
As long as they get along and play nice.
I was going to say, it's my experience that all the fishermen get along with each other. So it shouldn't be a problem.
I even watched Jim Kyle's eyebrows raising on that.
That's it.
No further questions from me.
None for me.
So I'd just like to point out that Director Fix had the authority and has the authority to lay these rates down without coming before us, but he saw fit to, that we should probably come before the commission and discuss it, so it was a little more transparent and people understood things, and I thank him for that. I think that it's going to take a period of time to get things like we like them over there. We already know that. And I think that you're probably going to find that most of the fishermen in today's fleet in our harbor are going to take care of things. And if somebody's not, they're going to get talked to probably by another fellow fisherman before the port staff shows up. So I think it'll be watched pretty closely. So it's a great building, and it's going to get put to good use. That's all I have. Carrie, if you please.
I got to read the right motion. Motion to authorize the executive director to approve a policy and fee schedule to allow preferential, non-exclusive use for commercial fishermen to access their fisherman's pavilion exclusively for commercial net mending October 1st through May 31st, and community use June 1st through September 30th.
Commissioner Shepherd.
Yes.
Commissioner Bell.
Yes.
Commissioner Briscoe's yes, carries 3-0. So now we'll move to the end of the meeting, public comment. Do we have anybody in the audience that wishes to speak up? Or speak? Speak low, up, it doesn't matter. Anybody? I will. Rob's going to ask on Zoom. I'm not a Zoom asker.
Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to speak during the public comment period? Just unmute yourself and speak up. Doesn't look like it, sir.
See, I'm used to 2 years of that. It's hard to. Yeah, I mean, so we had no public comment. So other business. Commissioner Bell, you have any other business? I have none. Commissioner Shepherd?
Yeah,
Always unfolding the page.
Yeah, no lists here today. We've previously asked for some additional time to talk comprehensive planning at the waterfront as a commission. I'm wondering where we are with that. I continue to see the need for us to be more involved with the long-term planning. And that's both, I think, should involve conversation with us to get our direction and hear our interests and be able to field our questions. And then to determine if there's a third party or somebody else who can help steer us through this next development period. You know, we initially thought this would all be done by one entity. That one entity isn't going to perform all the master planning for us. And so I want to make sure before we're starting to get proposals that are, you know, coming a couple deep now. And so I want to make sure that we're in the driver's seat with the future planning on this.
So for clarification, are we talking about all of our waterfront or just the waterfront district?
Just the waterfront district.
And so we're doing some background work, and Brian can fill you in the details of that alcohol plant and stuff before we come to you, so we have answers to a lot of questions that we have. So that's what the delay is. We've recently done an RFP for the board mill, or the alcohol plant. Yep. I think that's closed. I don't know if we selected someone.
We're scheduling interviews next week. Yeah, so thanks, Commissioner Brian Gowan, Director of Environmental Planning. And yeah, so that's exactly right. We're setting all that up to bring conversation to the commission. We've got a number of different moving parts on those. So one of those is the marine trades area with the ASB. We're getting ready to scope that initial phase of work, and that's going to take a lot of effort. And it's going to have a lot of commission input. It's going to, there'll be a lot of work coming forward from that. Then also as Rob mentioned, there's the alcohol plant. We're doing an adaptive reuse study of that. We have to kind of just have some expert opinions on the structure of that, and then we can bring some information forward how that may impact the kind of master planning efforts of the downtown waterfront. Then, of course, we've got the western crossings area, which we had slated for that effort. We've got in our budget this year some work to do on looking at how that could be reconfigured as well. So they're all kind of related, but they're also independent. So we are marching those forward, and maybe I'll make a note, and it may be good to just bring another waterfront district update to the commission here in the next meeting or two, just to outline the specifics of those efforts, and then we can get some early feedback, and then set up a schedule to come back to you with more details on those. So I'd be happy to do that.
Good. And for me, I'm fine with splitting the ASB from the downtown waterfront district and the conversations. I see them separately. I know they are both concurrent projects, but the planning is quite different.
Yep, indeed, yep.
Okay.
I'll just chime in on that note and just say, you said you've got different sections and those are historical sections. As we take a look at this, maybe erase some of those lines because they belong to the port now, right? I mean, we've got jurisdiction over those. Those don't necessarily need to be the same sections that they were then. So as we look at the planning effort, let's take a look at this as though we've got a fresh view, a 2022 view, because we certainly aren't going to see the office buildings that we saw back in 2016 being where they were supposed to be. We certainly aren't going to see western crossings within that footprint. Well, those lines can go away at some level, and we can plan those things accordingly, according to the vision that we have in 2022, and not based on preconceived plats that we put down in a previous planning effort.
Yep, indeed. And there's definitely, there'll be a great exercise to do, because there are definitely some constraints that are adopted through city code, though, like view corridors, things like that those are going to stay, and that kind of helps set some of those boundaries. But then outside of that, what can we play with and do? So you're exactly right. So we'll add that to the list of things that show those opportunity areas for, like, where do we have the MDA with Harcourt, for example? Like, okay, that's not an area we're going to do a lot with, but here's what's now opened up, and here's how we can look at it. So that's great.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Wondering if we can get an update on the RFP process. I see you standing there, Elliot. Can you tell us?
You all have an email that you got right before this meeting that gives you a brief summary, and then I think we're prepared at the next meeting to come to you, or the first meeting in June, with another update. So, yeah, they're coming, but we haven't had time to absorb them to give you any kind of intelligent read other than what we sent you today.
Okay. I'll check my email, I guess.
What's the email?
Which one?
I prefer to have people tell me things so I don't have to read, right? Okay. I guess that's it for me. Thanks.
Mr. Bell, you had nothing, you sure?
Yeah.
I've got a few things. How about that? So, first thing I'd like to bring to my fellow commissioners' attention is I think we have a need to maybe adjust our rules and regs for our harbors in regards to one item, and that's the photographs, current dated photograph of vessels applying for moorage in our harbors. We've had an instance where some pictures have been sent and the vessel shows up and it's not exactly, the picture was when it was in ship shape.
When they send you the manufacturer's photo of the boat, then it's in the catalog, then.
You just get Photoshop, So I was hoping maybe we can do a kind of a regulatory change within our rules to actual dated photograph of some sort is given to our harbor masters when an application is given for moorage. It doesn't matter what size the vessel is or if it's commercial or recreational, so that we know what's coming. And maybe a location so we can make sure the photograph is real, because that game is being played and it costs us a lot of money.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's part of that, in that moorage model presentation, when we talk about a focus on our inventory and seaworthiness of vehicles. So we'll take that into consideration.
I'm talking about new applicants.
Oh, current, yeah.
New applicants.
Oh, new ones.
New applicants,
Okay.
yeah. I know currently we have some messes that need to be cleaned up, but any new applicants, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm only one of us here, but I wanted to bring it to you guys' attention. I believe that we need a true photograph of the vessel. And probably even maybe the last survey, a semi-current survey, so we know what kind of shape the vessel's in, because it's becoming increasingly costly to have vessels in the harbor that aren't seaworthy. And this is one manner of watching that. I mean, I hate to make rules and police dog, but it's just too expensive to not watch what's going on for the people of Whatcom County, and then we're the people that are supposed to be watching, so. That was all for the staff, and we have the WPPA meeting starts tomorrow. I know that, Ken, you have prior engagements, you're not gonna be there, but I'd like to just, Tiffany can't make it to the Marina Committee, so I'm gonna sit in on that. And I have a few things I wanted to let you guys know. I know you'll be there, Michael, we'll probably talk about this, but just recently, the Coast Guard drug in a vessel into our harbor again that broke loose out here. And this one, there's some money owed to us from there, but they're just bringing vessels into our harbor that are anchored out here that are semi-derelict, basically. They end up in our harbor and we're stuck with them. And if the owner doesn't come and claim them, they're ours. And I don't feel that the federal government ought to be able to drag their stuff over here, because it's on DNR property to start with, drag their stuff over here and have the people of Whatcom County pay for it. So I'm gonna bring this up at the WPPA Marina Committee, see if other folks are having this trouble, which I'm assuming someone are, and if we can do something legally to stop this. Because they have a float right over there, or they can drag them to. Tie them right up over there at their place over there and get hold of the owner and say, come get it. Or they can destroy it. But I'm tired of the dime being tossed in our court. It's just, it's too costly. You know, and we've got, like the situation we've got in Blaine, this is another with the derelict vessel thing. We have a boat that's behind in the rear $7,000 up there that was impounded. Okay, it's a good vessel. There's people that want to buy it for upwards of $12,000-15,000, and we could recoup money plus, but because of these dates that the DNR has in for derelict vessels, it's not about what condition the vessel in. It's just, okay, it's this old, it has to be ruined. And the vessel is actually, I think, in my opinion, it's a seaworthy vessel. A little cleaning up and, you know, it could probably go somewhere. But here again, we have to pay to get it crushed up, or the DNR reimburses, so they're wasting money. And I've talked to DNR about this. We had a meeting, what was that meeting last spring, Tiffany? Wasn't it? We had that meeting, yeah, and I talked to him and explained a few things. So that's one of the things I'm gonna bring up. I wanna make you guys aware of that. I think we need to get something going there. And, what was the last one? Oh, they're talking, we've got a situation about, sewage in our harbor. they want to start tagging fees onto us up here about having, they want us to have somebody that runs around, checks everybody's boat to make sure all their sewage stuff is proper and they didn't pump something into the bay.
Who's they?
Well, it's a group, and I have to ask Andy again, it was, I forget it. I think it was state or fed. But it's like, okay, who's gonna hire the person that's gonna do this? Who's gonna pay the bills? You know, because here we are, we're trying to raise rates to the recreational boaters and people in the harbor, and that's gonna get passed along, so why are they doing this? If they wanna do this, they need to do it on their own dime. You know? Before they should be bothering us, maybe they should be looking at the city of Blaine for all the sewage that pumps back the wrong way when the street sewers are running in and flooding everything. I think our harbors, I mean, I've been in a lot of harbors, both Bellingham and Blaine. Blaine's way cleaner than we are here, but they're both pretty doggone clean from what I've seen up and down the coast. So I think that they're trying to push something off onto us as a port that they probably shouldn't push off onto us.
So they're wanting to determine if any boats are leaking sewage or if their pump outs are holding as they should.
Right, they want us to go around daily and check everybody's boat.
Let me clarify as
So
best
maybe
I
I've got that
can.
wrong.
I think you're on the right track. I believe it's the Department of Ecology and it's their no discharge zone program. And I haven't heard anything about fees being charged, so let me do a little bit of talking with our team and see if that is the situation. It's more of an education of our public in the marinas. That's my understanding, but I'll get you more information.
All they're checking for is fecal coliform, basically? Or do you know?
I don't know the details of that, what they're actually checking for.
Is this just in Blaine and because Blaine's
No, I believe
shellfish-
it's a statewide program.
This is a statewide.
Oh, it's statewide.
That's why I want to bring it up to the WPPA, because I mean.
It's the proper form to talk about it because everyone's got the same concerns as Commissioner Briscoe, so.
So I mean, who's gonna pay for it? Here, do it. And it's, well, yeah, great. So, and that's, and I guess to ask if you have anything that needs to be brought up there. Okay. All right, that's all I have. One more round of public comment. Anybody wanting to say anything online? Do we have any online people?
I think it looks like just staff at this point. Anyone online that wants to make public testimony? Staff does have one kind of cool update we'd like to give you.
Okay.
Before you do that, Mike, what's wrong with Jim? Mike, can you guys just say hi to Jim? Maybe I feel bad for this guy who's got a
Don was over there and he left, so.
never said a. I'll come back. Jim, I.
Oh, he's sitting over there for a reason.
Well, good afternoon, Commissioners. Mike Hogan, Public Affairs Administrator. I just want to, following up on opening weekend and blessing of the fleet. You know where you take a boat when it's sick?
The doc.
To the dock. At any rate, I was down at the Container Village this past weekend, and lots of people down there. There wasn't a square inch of real estate down at trackside. The pump track was completely full, and the other containers are starting to go in, and so I think it's going to be really cool. And just wanted to give you an update on one of those containers. So when you walk in the arch, the big 40-foot container that holds up the arch is going to be the dish foundation, which they're gearing up and getting ready to open. We didn't have a use for the other 20-foot container that holds it. We talked about how it'd be great to have some retail down there, some artists, or different type of something that maybe change a little bit. And Carrie was at a meeting with the Downtown Partnership, and she came back and said, hey, talk to the Downtown Partnership, and there's a bunch of artists down there, and at the Bellingham Farmers Market, and they'd love, in the future, if they could ever get a container down on the waterfront, it'd be an idea. And I said, well, we got this 20-footer, maybe we can get them going sooner. And so anyway, talked with Rob, and we kind of hatched this idea of having a rotating artist go through, for a short-term rental to try to mix it up. So anyway, we kind of went through that process, and Carrie went back and talked to the downtown partnership and talked to the local artists, and we're still outfitting the container. It's still probably early June, putting in the electrical and stuff like that. And Carrie last Friday was like, well, we only have, we worked with our events, we only have 2 weeks booked out for this container for the summer. Oh, geez. So I talked to our events team, and we improved our website a little bit, and then put out a post on Facebook. And it got 12,380 people reached with 1,597 engagements. And so anyway, this is on Friday. Of the 16 weeks we had available now, 12 of them are booked, and we've got a ton of emails and phone calls, and so a lot of excitement. So we'll have a variety of vendors down there throughout the summer selling locally made goods and art and doing all sorts of stuff. So obviously, and we'll keep a waiting list once all the weeks get reserved, but we'll, obviously see how it goes this summer, and we can adjust, our rates and how we operate it and everything. But it was a good way to activate this container for the summer, and so it'll be a fun use to look forward to. So just a quick update.
Excellent,
I
excellent.
like that. Thank you.
You on commission?
You jogged one other business item for me. I was down at the Container Village, and one of the vendors asked me about garbage collection, and it seems that we don't have public garbage collection at the Container Village. And when I was looking around, it looked like right by the restroom, there's a perfect place for a couple garbage cans, and I didn't see any. And I think it's causing some of our vendors down there who are leasing space some complications, because they're having to deal with garbage that is mostly produced by the food trucks that are coming in, but the food trucks have just tiny little garbage can. So it seems that there's a need for a couple garbage cans.
So Commissioner, the problem isn't the cans, it's the collection of them. And those businesses are supposed to be doing their own. We've given them a place they can bring their garbage and dump it into a dumpster, and we pay SSC to come haul that dumpster away. But those businesses in their leases are supposed to take their garbage and put it in that dumpster. It's not supposed to be port staff that's carrying their garbage to the dumpster. I've got to get some labor in there and do that. That's going to be a pretty good cost increase to have someone come down there every day. They're already down there. They're already cleaning up every day. So I can meet with those tenants if the commission's desire. We can certainly take over the garbage for them, but I think the garbage is on them. And I can meet with them and tell them they need to get cans out there. And we can tell the food trucks they need to get cans out there. And before the food truck leaves, they need to dump their can into the bin.
And I think what happens probably with the food truck is people order at the food truck, and then they walk around, and then all of a sudden they're not at the food truck anymore, and they've got all this garbage in their hand. What do they do with it?
Yeah.
Do they go and put it in the ice cream people's or the Sunnyland? It's not their garbage, but all of a sudden now they're having to dump all this garbage that wasn't created by them.
Yeah.
And I think people are also bringing in outside, their kids come with their juice boxes and coffee cups and everything else. I think there's an influx of garbage that isn't created on site or tied to any of those individuals.
Maybe the solution is just to put a common area and then tell each one of them we're going to bump their rates just a little bit for that utility, because it is.
Well, we may have the option to bill them back for those utilities. I think Terry's in here, but we may have the option to bill them back for those. I'm trying to be conscientious and keep costs really low. And to me, it makes sense if they've got a staff member there, they just take care of it. But I don't want a bunch of fighting about it's your garbage or his garbage. That doesn't seem productive
either. It's just getting increased use. It's busy down there. People are excited about it.
It's
any busy
packed
place
on Sunday.
Creates garbage. I wish we didn't create garbage, but we do.
Yeah.
Right, and good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Terry Lahi, Property Manager. Just a quick update on that. We are working with the Environmental Division and Sustainable Connections on trying to get more food plus recycling and regular recycling. We had a meeting with the tenants down there and discussed this. And the question, of course, came up on we can put the garbage cans, and Sustainable Connections will be providing some that the tenants will be using and proper signage. But the catch on that is if we take it on, then there is a huge cost, because you can have the cans there, but unless they're emptied on a regular basis, it's more of a mess. And the tenants are aware that they have to pick them up. And agreed with you, Commissioner, that they are receiving garbage from outside of the facility and not always theirs. So that is a concern. This summer is going to be busier than it was last summer. We have more people down there. Hopefully with that comes more containers, more garbage cans in front of the containers, and everybody can work cooperatively to get them emptied on the site.
No.
Yeah, I think people are kind of expected to be like, it feels like a public place, and most public places have public garbage.
Well, we'll look into the garbage. I mean, we can certainly get more cans down there in the common areas, the pump track, et cetera. I'm going to continue to want the containers to do this themselves, because part of this is mission creep, where the more we start providing them, the more they're going to ask for. And we gave them really cut rate leases, and minimalist is what we're going for there. But I share the concern. I don't want to see the place covered in garbage. So
Nobody wants garbage all over the place. It's just.
we'll approach it from two facets. We'll work with the tenants on more garbage cans and taking care of their own, and then we'll put more public garbage cans around in the other areas. Hopefully that'll eliminate some of the stuff being brought in from the outside that's being dumped on them.
One other quick update I forgot to mention. There was a big problem, not with garbage, but with bikes being laid all around. And so went with Rob and looked at some of our reuse items that we've saved for historic reuse. And we found the world's coolest bike rack, which is they were giant rollers that they used to roll the trees around when they're hydraulically debarking them. And our maintenance staff did a great job of converting those into bike racks. And so I went down 2 weeks ago, and bikes were laying out all over the place. And when I was down on Sunday, these awesome new bike racks were being used. And I mean, they really are the world's coolest bike rack. I mean, there may be one cooler, but I don't know. So when you walk into trackside and over by where the filling station container is going to be, you'll see those being used as bike racks. So anyway, cool.
I can tell you no one's stealing the bike rack.
And a shout out to our executive director. He's the one that looked at that and said, that would be a good bike rack. So anyway.
Okay. I do have one other thing I'd like to mention. We did have the blessing of the fleet yesterday in Blaine, and we had some political folks there. I'd like to thank Commissioner Bell for being there. We also had Senator Sestak was there. County Councilman Ben Allenboss was present. Representative Alicia Rule was present, and I thank all of those folks for being there, as well as staff. Tiffany DeSimone was there helping, talking with people. Andy Peterson was there, as well as Greg, some of the staff from Blaine. The event was well attended, not as well as it would have been if we had not had a service going on for Mr. Glinovich down here. They kind of ended up on the same day, which was tough for some of us that couldn't go. But anyhow, I thank Gary Dunster and the memorial team for all they do up there. They do a great job. It's not a lot of people are stepping up to take the place. So, but thanks to those people, and thanks to everybody that showed up there, and thanks to staff that helps make that happen. Anything else, gentlemen? Staff? Meeting adjourned.